Imagine this: a crowded airport terminal, a flight about to board, and one small decision that exposes the truth about respect, humility, and the power of silent dignity. Before we begin, if you love stories that make you feel, stories that open your eyes and remind you of what really matters, then hit that like button and subscribe for more. Because this story will stay with you long after it ends. The line at gate 37 was long and restless that afternoon. People shuffled their bags, scrolled through phones, and sighed as the boarding call for Flight 261 echoed through the speakers. Among them stood a tall, confident man named Marcus Reed, the CEO of a fast-growing tech company in New York. He was humble despite his success, dressed simply in a black hoodie and jeans. Most people wouldn't guess that this quiet, polite black man had built a company worth millions from the ground up. Marcus didn't fly private. He preferred to stay grounded, to stay in touch with the real world, the people he served and the struggles he once knew too well. But what he didn't expect that day was that a simple airplane seat would turn into a test of character, for him, and for everyone watching. As the flight attendants began to call out zones, Marcus stepped forward with his boarding pass, first class, seat 1A. He smiled, gave a polite nod to the attendant, and walked down the jet bridge, but when he reached his seat, he paused. There, sitting in his spot, was a woman, white, middle-aged, with designer sunglasses still perched on her head. Her name, he would later learn, was Karen Miller, a real estate executive. Her legs were crossed, phone in one hand, coffee in the other. She didn't even look up as Marcus approached. "Excuse me, ma'am," Marcus said kindly, "I believe you're in my seat, 1A. She glanced up, annoyed. "I don't think so," she said. "I've had this seat booked for weeks." Marcus smiled patiently and showed her his boarding pass. "It says 1A here. Maybe there's been a mix-up." Karen frowned, looking him up and down. Her eyes flicked over his hoodie, his sneakers. "Are you sure you're in the right class?" she asked, her tone dripping with disbelief. "This is first class. You might want to check with the attendant in coach." The word stung, but Marcus didn't react. Years in business had taught him the power of silence. The flight attendant hurried over, sensing tension. "Is everything all right?" she asked. Karen jumped in before Marcus could speak. "Yes, there's some confusion. This gentleman seems to think this is his seat." The attendant checked both boarding passes. Then her face changed. "Ma'am," she said firmly, "this seat is his. You're in 3C. Just a few rows back." Karen's face flushed red. "That can't be right. I always book the front seat. I'm a platinum member." Passengers nearby began to glance over. The tension in the air thickened. Marcus could feel the judgmental eyes, the whispers, some people embarrassed, others pretending not to see. "Ma'am," the attendant said again, softer this time, "please return to your assigned seat so we can prepare for takeoff." Karen scoffed, grabbed her bag, and muttered loud enough for everyone to hear, "Unbelievable. They'll let anyone up here these days." Marcus's jaw tightened, but he didn't respond. He simply sat down, plugged in his headphones, and closed his eyes. But what happened next silenced the entire plane. As the flight took off and reached cruising altitude, the captain made his usual announcements: weather, flight time, and then, a pause. "Ladies and gentlemen," the captain said, his voice calm but deliberate, "I'd like to take a moment to recognize one of our passengers today, Mr. Marcus Reed, CEO of Reed Technologies, whose company donated over 200 laptops to underprivileged schools this month. We're honored to have you aboard." The cabin went quiet. Heads turned. Karen froze in her seat a few rows back, her eyes widening as the realization sank in. The man she'd dismissed as not belonging was the same one who'd been quietly changing lives. Marcus turned slightly, met her gaze for just a second, and gave a small, respectful nod. Not smug. Not spiteful. Just human. Karen looked down, unable to hold his eyes. The color drained from her face. She unbuckled her belt, stood up slowly, and walked to the front of the cabin. The passengers watched in silence. Mr. Reed, she said softly, I'm so sorry for what I said earlier. That was wrong of me. Marcus smiled faintly. It's okay, he replied. We all have bad days. What matters is how we move forward. She blinked back tears, nodded, and quietly returned to her seat. The rest of the flight was quiet, peaceful, even. But the story didn't end there. When the plane landed, a few passengers approached Marcus to shake his hand, thanking him, not just for his company's work, but for how he handled that moment. One man said, "You taught all of us something today." Not just her. Marcus just smiled. The best way to teach is by example. Later that night, a passenger posted the story on social media. Within hours, it went viral. The caption read, "A white woman tried to steal a black man's seat. Turns out, the seat, and the respect, were his all along." People from around the world shared it, not because it was about race or wealth, but because it was about grace. Because in a world where anger often meets anger, Marcus chose calm. In a world obsessed with status, he chose humility, and maybe that's the real message here. Your worth doesn't come from the seat you sit in, but from the way you carry yourself when someone tries to take it away. So, if this story moved you, even just a little, take a second to like this video, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs a reminder today. Respect costs nothing, but it reveals everything.